Hello, World Civilization 106 classes. Welcome to week 6. And just want to say, loved a lot of the comments in the papers. Still don't know why many of you are not putting dates, and we're excited right now. I don't understand, but I'm just going to move on from that right now. If you got a 0, you probably weren't watching any of these announcements, and so I shouldn't even worry about bringing them up in the announcements. But okay, so before I move into the material, just a little bit for this week, I want to just say something. I am not that political with a lot of my classes. In case you haven't noticed, because I know that you are being bombarded with so much divisive, opinionated, attackish information all over the media. And I like my classes to feel like a safe space for all of you. And I know that many of you are going into different fields and have different circumstances. But I really feel compelled that I need to say that I think what happened in the trial over regarding the murder of Breonna Taylor to be outrageous. And I mean, it's very simple. She was sleeping in her own apartment. She wasn't doing anything. And by the way, I watched a videotape that her boyfriend called 911, worried about the intruder. It was a no-knock warrant. The police stormed in. They didn't know it was police. He pulled out a gun to defend his girlfriend. That's what any person would do, right? And she gets murdered, and oops, oh, by the way, it was a mistake. Actually, there was no crime after all, and this is okay. And I don't know how, and despite how much the protests have been going on, that this is something in the news, there's no changes taking place. And so then people wonder why people continue to riot. I don't really understand. I just want to say this. July 4th, okay? The Tea Party was an act of vandalism against private property to make a political point, and it's celebrated by conservatives even, okay? And the whole idea of the problem of what July 4th was about was when there is a major disconnect between law and order and the population. There's a lot of things right now that are blowing my mind, and you know, I'm a little bit out of the box when it comes to all the politics of things right now. I don't like either party, to be honest, if you really wanted to know if I was going to give my opinion. But I just think there's a lack of justice. Now, I'm not going to go much further on this. I just want to say something. I do think that what we're struggling with often is the fact that many of us have the same value systems. We don't have the same information. And people don't trust information sources anymore. Let's be real, there's a lot of fake news stuff all over the place. And it just compounds the problem of making us divided. And I think that we should step back at moments and realize that instead of just attacking everyone that doesn't have our same views, to keep that in mind. I want to make it very clear. I have changed many views in my life. I have tried to change my behavior. I've tried to evolve myself. I'm in my 40s now. A lot's happened from my life up to now. And I'm glad that I've had the opportunity to evolve. And so we need to take responsibility for our actions and our thoughts, but we also need to be able to give people that chance to to do that. And I think that in the middle of all of our anger and frustrations about the things that are going wrong in this world, we do need to keep in mind that there are many people on different sides of a lot of different debates that really do have the same value systems that we do, but are not seeing the world the way we do because of the chaos of this information age. And we should always create a space for that dialogue and that interaction to take place. That's just my thought on all this right now. So I'm going to stop it there. Okay, so just to briefly talk about the information that we're coming up to. By the way, this didn't mean anything. I just forget on the internet, like if you make different signs, like maybe I'm into the Illuminati now, or I don't know what that was supposed to mean. It was just a careless hand gesture. Anyhow, so look, we're covering Buddhism and Confucianism and Taoism. By the way, it's sometimes spelled with a T and the D. I can't remember if I mentioned this in the lectures, but it's a complex way of dealing with Chinese tonal differences in their language. So the T can sometimes be pronounced as a D. Most modern translators now just put the D there instead of making it confusing. So sometimes you'll see Chinese names or words spelt with a T, and then later they adopt it to a D, and it also depends on if they're trying to transliterate it the Mandarin way or the Cantonese ways, or it gets complicated. So, having said that, one apology I want to make about this section is that I'm heavily focused on China. I sort of addressed Japan, I sort of addressed Korea, and then Southeast Asia just really doesn't get the proper justice to it. When I first made these lectures, I had very little knowledge of Southeast Asia. And then, over a year ago, I spent a good chunk of a year living in Southeast Asia. I lived for 2 months in Cambodia on my own in my own apartment. And I lived off and on in Thailand in apartments and with my cousin. And I spent time in the Philippines, and Hong Kong is not part of Southeast Asia, but there's still a lot of similarities in certain things. And so I was about 3 months in Hong Kong, 2 months, then I was gone, and then I was one more month back in Hong Kong. So anyhow, I learned a lot about Southeast Asia. I studied a lot more history, and I just have not been able to find space within the time constraints to incorporate better Southeast Asian history into this class. So for those of you that are interested in the topic or come from that part of the world, I want to apologize and say that I'm aware at some point I'm hoping to fix it, that issue. And Korea deserves much more of a discussion. I have a strong interest in Korea. I do a much more better job of covering Korea in my Worldciv107 class. Again, I want to make that clear. But I do think, look, China is no doubt, whatever your thoughts about this, China is the really emerging superpower. I mean, not emerging, they are now really up there next to the United States as the top challenge. So knowing about Chinese civilization is very relevant to understanding the world. And so I thought this is still very good for helping you to do that. And keep in mind, of course, there's a lot of drama with Taiwan and Hong Kong and mainland China itself, and that is something that I can cover in a 107 section. If you're curious about that, you can contact me, but it doesn't have relevance to this historical time period that we're covering right now, the current political dramas, that is. So that's all I have to say. Sorry that this announcement was so long. If you need anything, contact me. As always, just keep in mind I'm working at the consignment shop Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, and I'm more free on the other days. All right, take care.